down. Hi, this is Sally Morgan, craniosacral therapist, physical therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. And this is Tristan, who is a Corgi, even though he, like me, is wearing rabbit ears today. This is our third attempt to post this video because I just learned that, in fact, you can't use even a portion of a copyrighted song. So instead of someone singing, "Here Comes Peter Cottontail," you will have Sally singing "Little Bunny Foo-Foo." Little bunny foo-foo running through the forest, digging him up the field, bison, bapping him on the head. I like to sing Little Bunny Foo-Foo. I learned it in camp. I know a lot of verses. And it's one of my favorite car songs when I'm just falling asleep. So, happy Easter to everyone who is watching us. Happy Passover, happy Resurrection Day, and happy beautiful spring day in New England. And I will try once more to share with you some suggestions about handling rabbits because, after all, I, among many people, think about rabbits on Easter. And sadly, too many rabbits are given as gifts at Easter, and that's not really an appropriate thing for a bunny. But before that, we have several announcements. One is April the giraffe in upstate New York had her baby, and it's a little boy, and many people on the Corgi Facebook pages have been following the progress of April the giraffe, and many of us have squeaky giraffe toys for our dogs. So congratulations to April for having a healthy baby. Also, I have some events to let you know about. I already posted on this page and my other ones a flyer about the Equine Wellness Fair, which is being held next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, in East Haddam, Connecticut. And that is being held at a place called Ray of Light Farm. It's a rescue. And I will be there on Sunday, not on Saturday, and I will be doing a demonstration on a horse there with craniosacral therapy and Tellington T-Touch. And I will also be at my booth signing books and meeting people. So if you live in that area, even if you're not a horse person, maybe you're a dog or a cat or a bunny person, please stop by the booth and say hi, pick up a copy of the book. Tristan will probably be with me hiding because he's pretty afraid of horses, but I will be down there on Sunday. It's a great event, and come and show your support to the wonderful people that are organizing this event, Jen McDermott, and also for Ray of Light Farm, which is indeed a rescue, and they are doing, they will be benefiting from this as well. And also another reminder about the wonderful opportunity we have for you to take a class with Linda Tellington in Rockville, Maryland, May 12th through the 17th. This is a great chance to work with Linda herself and learn the essence of T-Touch from the woman who developed it. You can bring your dog, you can bring your friends, you can bring your cat or your rabbit, and it's a really wonderful place to take a class. There are wonderful places to stay in every price range, every kind of food available in the area. The facility is beautiful, and my friend Pam Wanbeer, who has organized this for many years, does a great job. Linda is, dare I say it, 80 now, and it is such a pleasure to be able to spend a week with her. I will be there, as will Tristan, more in his Corgi costume than his rabbit costume. And we encourage you to come down and join us for a wonderful week that will change your life and make remarkable differences in the lives of every animal you meet after this week. It really is a wonderful opportunity. Also, my other announcement is that my website, sallymorganpt.com, is up and running. I have flower essences in my store. I have my sister's dental drops in my store. I also have my book there, and I will be adding my sister's books and possibly some essential oils that I've been working with for a number of years, as well as some of the other products that you can get from my sister, drjudymorgan.com, at her website as well. So I'm really excited to have this website redone and remodeled in a way that is much easier to use, and it's much more friendly for using on a phone or an iPad. Also, please check out the media page there. There's a beautiful video that Simple Wag made about Comet. It really is moving and wonderful, and I'm so fortunate to have worked with them. And there are several little written articles there, as well as a much longer one that appeared in something called Many Hands. It's a local health and wellness publication, and they did a story about my work with animals. Great pictures there. It's a really great picture in that article of a pendulum swinging widely around a horse's sacrum. It's really dramatic and an amazing photo that the photographer was able to capture. So that's there, as well as the radio interview I did with Dr. Bernie Siegel. So check the media page. There's lots of fun stuff there to look at. And there will also, I think there already is actually, Brian just finished it, a link to YouTube where all of these conversations with a Corgi are also posted. So please check that out. And if you have friends that you want to share these videos with who are not on Facebook, because let's face it, a lot of people are not on Facebook. I have a friend who's been on and off of it for years because he gets inundated with information and he can't handle it. So now he's learned how to use a lot of privacy settings and he's enjoying his time on Facebook once again. But I have clients that just don't want to get involved with social media. So therefore, you can go to YouTube and binge watch all of the conversations with a Corgi there. And we post them weekly to that page so that if people need to see something and it's not there, it will be there. Usually on Thursday or Friday, Brian posts them for me. So those are all the announcements. I am very excited to talk about rabbits today. I don't even know where to start on the third time through this. I have been a rabbit parent for probably 30 years of my life at least. My sister and I found a white rabbit scampering around our yard in New Jersey when we were kids, and I wrote about this rabbit in my book. We herded the bun into the garage because he had a bloody leg and managed to catch him and bring him into the house. And my mother, my sister, and I managed to pull a worm out of his back leg, which had actually eaten all of the pus and rotty material there. He had had some kind of an accident, maybe a dog bite or something. We dressed the wound, and the rabbit recovered and lived in our garage for a couple of years, coming and going. And I don't think anybody really knows what happened to him. He just wasn't there one day. It was a big New Zealand white rabbit. We named him Easter Bunny because we believed that he had hopped down from the neighbor kids who had probably gotten him as an Easter present. They had lots of dogs and cats, and I'm sure that rabbit was not happy being in their family. And you know, just a reminder, it's never a good idea to take a domestic rabbit and liberate it in your yard forever. I have lost bunnies in my life and for up to a month, and it's been usually the case that they are less than 20 feet from where you last saw them, and that I think that's really true. Every rabbit person I've ever talked to who has lost a bunny has found it a short time later, just a few feet from where they last saw it. Rabbits get frightened, and they are really good at finding hiding places, believe me. My bunny Leo squoze into a drain pipe about this big around, and I had no idea she would fit in there. And a woman upstairs that people thought was crazy was saying, "There's a white rabbit on the lawn every night." Well, it was Leo Bunny out grazing before she hid in her pipe, and boy, quite a lot of bunny intelligence there to try to catch that little kid with a blanket and some banana chips. So I was able to bring her home. And when Rufus, another one of my bunnies, also named Berkowitz, escaped, he was running around the yard for a while and eating horse grain, and my Corgi Winston saved him just before Hurricane Andrew. And I just scooped him up and brought him in. He was just as domestic as he had always been. Leo, the other rabbit, had turned sort of wild. And I got my first rabbit. I was living in Harrisburg, working at a farm magazine, and I was not allowed to have pets in my building. No cats, no dogs. So I thought, fine, I'll go down to the store and get a hamster, because we had had a great little hamster named Snowball when I was a kid. I think I have to take my rabbit ears off so you can see what's down here with Tristan. Anyway, Snowball was a wonderful pet for me and my sister, and another amazing story about him we'll talk about another day. And I had bought these two hamsters, and they'd escaped, and they were living in the closet of the woman downstairs who was sure she was invaded with rats. She had a real fit, called the superintendent of the apartment building, and a plumber came by and caught the hamsters. One of them was a beautiful golden woolly bear hamster, and took them home to his children. So I had no pets, and I went to the store to get more hamsters, and the pet store person had a huge glove on their arm, like they were going to be working with hawks, and she reached her hand in to grab a hamster for me, and 30 hamsters just jumped at that glove, and I thought, you know what, this is not the kind of pet I want. And in a little cage there, one of the rabbit breeders had brought in a little black bunny. And I said, that's what I'll do. I'll take this rabbit. So I brought Agatha Rabbit back to my house, and we had a great time. She was a really fun pet. She scampered around the living room and spent time with me in the evening, taught me a lot about rabbits. And as I was interviewing many farmers, and I was working at the farm magazine at the time, I was a livestock editor, equine editor, and I also did some work in the home section and was therefore interviewing some dairymen. And I was coming across a lot of 4-H kids who were saying, oh, you have a rabbit? You should know about rabbit 4-H. You should breed your rabbit. So I brought Agatha down to a rabbit breeder outside of Harrisburg, and he was a beautiful opal buck that she met there, and they had a litter of bunnies, and 4 of them were chocolate, and 1 of them was Siamese cat colored, and that was my bunny Leo, who I had for over 10 years. I loved her so much. I still miss her. She was an amazing, amazing little rabbit. I learned many things about animals from her, which you can read about in my book, Dances of the Heart, Connecting with Animals. So the 3 little chocolate bunnies, Eileen, Candy, and Hershey, all found homes with my friends. My sister, in fact, had one of them. I believe she had Candy for a while, or for a long time till he expired. And it was really fun having baby bunnies. Many years later, when I had Rufus / Berkowitz bunny, he became a father to a bunny that my neighbor across the hall had, and they had beautiful gray little cute bunnies, and there's pictures of them also in my book. And over the years I also had Lily bunny and many, many others, and Lily was from the pet store, and she was a white rabbit with a little black nose and black ears and red eyes. She was a Himalayan rabbit. And I loved her. She and Leo were so in love. They used to sit in the cage just like licking each other all day, and we'd let them out and they'd play together. They were adorable. And Lily fell in love with my ex-husband Jack, who is a great animal lover. And she used to sit on his lap in the sunshine outside. And when she wanted to get down, she would rudely nibble on him and wake him up. And he learned how to wear a lot of clothes to be padded from her bites so that it was just a little nibble and not a big bite. So Lily and Leo lived together for a very long time. And after Leo died, it wasn't too much longer when we lost Lily. And then I had still Rufus. And so he was my last bunny, and I had several other bunnies along the way. And it's been just a joy in my life to spend time with rabbits. One of the amazing things about rabbits is that they have a very long spinal cord and dural tube because they have many, many, many vertebrae in their tail, much more than horses, dogs, and cats. And because of such a long spinal cord in such a short space, it's a lot easier to feel the craniosacral rhythm on a rabbit than it is on a lot of other animals. So bunnies have always been a part of my craniosacral therapy classes for animals. And I am fortunate that the wonderful people at the House Rabbit Society, no matter where I've taught my classes, have been generous at finding rabbits for me, for people to work with, as well as Nevin's Farm, which is a fabulous animal rescue north of Boston. They have every kind of animal there. And when I used to teach the large craniosacral therapy for animal classes up in that area, they had like 20 to 30 students in my classes. My friend Pam, who's running that T-Touch class in Maryland, would take her Subaru up to Nevin's and load up the back with a lot of rabbits and bring them down for us. And we had such a wonderful group of even ferrets and guinea pigs from Nevin's Farm for people to work with. It was such a pleasure. And I have always included rabbits in all of the classes I teach for craniosacral therapy. They're just wonderful teachers and amazing beings to get to know. So if you have a friend with a rabbit or you have rabbits in your yard, I encourage you to spend some time with bunnies. Also, when I was in Germany, because I love rabbits so much, I have a whole collection here of stuffed bunnies. And these are all from various places, but they're all from Stuttgart initially, because that's where the Steiff factory is. And when I was in Stuttgart, I wanted to go to meet the people who got to tie the bows on the little bunnies at the end of the assembly line. But you cannot walk into the Steiff factory and talk to people there. So I was staying with someone working with her horse outside of Stuttgart, and we used to ride up to the hill at night and watch the lights turning on in the factory below, knowing that many bunnies and teddies and elephants and lions and the many animals they make were coming out of that factory. And that was as close as I got, besides buying some bunnies. And in fact, Hopful, who's our demo bunny today, came from Stuttgart. So I thought it would be a good idea today to talk about rabbits, because it is Easter and Tristan is complete with his little bunny tail. I don't know if you can see it back here, and he has his ears on. And one of the first things you need to know about working with bunnies is to make sure you're taking slow, deep breaths when you're with a rabbit. These are animals that are easily startled, and they can get away quickly, and like the rabbits that have been lost in my yard on occasion, it doesn't always end in the most pleasant way. So it's really important to try to handle your rabbit really gently and carefully so as not to startle them. Be really aware of your breathing and try to move slowly when you're approaching a rabbit. When you're approaching the bunny, look for the rabbit to have soft eyes. That means he's relaxed. And you'll see a little wiggle in his nose. He can do a little wiggly nose. And usually the rabbit's nose is wiggling when he's sitting there, and that is a sign that the rabbit's relaxed. Now, like cats and dogs, they hold their whiskers in a variety of ways to let you know a variety of emotions they're experiencing, but generally a happy wiggly nose and a soft eye means that the rabbit's quiet and it's a good time to approach him. It's best to approach a rabbit from the side. Their eyes are really in the sides of their head and quite large, so they can see far around and behind them. And Marguerite Coates has talked about an 8th chakra, which is just behind the scapula in animals. That is their connection to humans. And in general, I use that area as a place to approach any new animal in my life. So with Hopful here, I would come up to him with the back of my hand, because this is much more threatening than this, and just do like a Lama T touch circle there, or maybe a stroke. And just say hi to him in a very non-threatening way. One of the things that happens with rabbits a lot is that people come up to them and try to grab them here, especially children. This is one reason they're not great pets for little kids. They are really sensitive, gentle beings, and to come up behind them like this is just like a hawk or an eagle coming to kill a rabbit. And so this is a really alarming situation for a bunny to come up and grab them on the back. This can really terrify them, so that's not a good way to approach a rabbit. Better to come from their side, down low, so that they can see you and see that you're not going to do that. Rabbits are not cats. You cannot pick them up by the scruff of their neck, nor can you hold them by the scruff when they're down. They don't have a scruff, and their skin is really fragile and easily broken, so it's really important to handle them carefully and not try to pick them up by the scruff. Similarly, grabbing a rabbit by his ears like this, the ears are not a handle. You cannot pick up a rabbit this way, nor can you steady a rabbit by holding their ears. For instance, I've seen a vet tech do this to trim a rabbit's teeth once. She was not very well trained, and this is a really bad way to work with a rabbit. So rabbits' ears are really sensitive, and that is a terrible thing to do to a rabbit. So don't do that. It is much better to come up from the side. And if you need to hold the rabbit, I will show you in a minute a way to do that so that the rabbit is safe. Once the rabbit is comfortable with you, they will often sit and cross their ears like this on the top of their back, and they snuggle down. Then it's okay, in fact, to put your hand over their ears, not their back, and that replicates the feeling they have when they're in their little burrows and they're safe. So this is actually okay for a rabbit. Also, when I'm working with a bunny, I sometimes, as they're laying down, encourage them to put their little front paws out in front of them, as well as their little back feet to stretch behind them, so that they're laying like a flying carpet. This is the same position as a Corgi when they're in a sploot pose. And usually a Corgi will lay with their little paws facing up, and they're completely relaxed flat on their stomach. Most rabbits, however, will lay in their sploot with their little toes still on the ground and their legs sticking up behind them because they are ready to run. Or hardly ever is a rabbit so relaxed he'll just completely melt into the floor. And sometimes a rabbit that you've had for a number of years will do that with you. But if I'm going to work with a rabbit and I'm a stranger, they often will still have their little toes ready for a run. Be aware of rabbits' hind feet. They are often able to kick and scratch you when they're frightened, and a back foot of a rabbit is a dangerous thing. So be really aware of their back feet and where they are positioned next to you and how you're holding them and working with them with their back feet. Rabbits' hind feet are really important for their self-defense mechanism, as well as warning other rabbits. When a rabbit is scared, you might hear in the yard, if you startle one, a little thump, and they hit the ground to let the other rabbits know that they should run. Right, Tristan? when I'm working with a rabbit, for instance with T-Touch with this little guy, Hopful, I will come along the side and bottom half of the rabbit first. Again, we don't want to frighten them by working across the top of their back. So work along their legs and their cute little tummies, and they're so soft and nice. And then again, so that you're not coming across the top, if you're doing cranial work with them and you need to get your hands around them, or possibly in Reiki, I slide the bottom hand under the rabbit first and then just use a few fingers of the top hand. Not doing this as much as it's tempting. Just use a couple of fingers just to connect with your bottom hand for Reiki or for craniosacral therapy if you're working with a bunny. And try to use your bottom hand under the rabbit first. It's very much more secure for them to be aware of where your hands are by coming to them from the bottom first. Rabbits are like cats. They mark things with their whiskers. And they, like dogs and cats, have big, lustrous whiskers. And I used to watch my rabbits scampering around my living room and marking everything in the house with their little cheeks and their whiskers. And one rabbit I had, actually Rufus, who looked like this, Rufus actually got some of those glands congested and some icky, gross crud got up in his poor glands, and I had to use a hot compress on his face and clean that out and use some oils to try to clear that for him. So they definitely are very aware of marking things with their whiskers. Oh, this rabbit next to me is falling asleep. And then the other thing that rabbits have is a big dewlap, like a double chin. And like deer with their antlers, rabbits are very proud of their double chin. And so one of the things I do when I'm approaching a new rabbit is to come to the side and do a little llama touch and then stroke the whiskers and then say to the rabbit, either out loud or silently, what a beautiful dewlap you have. What a beautiful chin. And they often have really silky, beautiful hair there. They spend a lot of time licking and cleaning. They're very proud of their dewlap. So it's a nice thing for your rabbit, for you to admire the rabbit's dewlap. Rabbits have sharp, sharp nails, which they use for digging. They're also really good weapons. And sometimes you may see two bunnies standing up like this, like these little guys are, and pawing at each other. And that's one of the ways they play. They look sort of like boxing kangaroos when they're doing that. And it's something that they do with each other, but they will also scratch you if you get in front of them and scare them. So it's really important to be aware of where your rabbit's legs are when you're working with them. And to that end, if you have an unfamiliar rabbit or a rescued bunny that's really frightened, you can do what we do in T-Touch with kitties, which is use a towel and put it around the rabbit's front so his little legs are all in the towel and his little dewlap and his chin are sticking out. And then you can hold the rabbit still by just compressing the towel a little bit around him. And this is a good way to restrain a rabbit instead of holding their ears like that poor soul that was doing that to that bunny that I saw. Just hold him by the towel, and then you can really do what you need to do with your rabbit. Sometimes you do have to trim their teeth, and this is a good way to hold them to do that. You look like a chinchilla when you're in there, buddy. And I used to think of this as a Superman cape, but really, now that I'm in Massachusetts, I can see that it's really like a lobster bib. This little fellow could eat quite a lot of lobster and butter and not make any sort of a mess. Or in his case, delicious dandelion greens. So that's how you use a little lobster bib on your towel, or a towel on your rabbit. It is a good thing to do really light touches with your rabbit. I would do no higher than a 1, 2, or a 3 T-touch pressure on your rabbit. And remember, a 3 is what felt comfortable just under your eyelid. So use a very light touch on them. I have worked once with a Flemish giant. It was a huge rabbit, much bigger than Tristan, probably 30, 40 pounds. And the rabbit used to lick me. Oh, what a tongue that rabbit had. It was bigger than Tristan's tongue. And she was so affectionate. She had actually gotten injured jumping off the sofa. And in fact, rabbits, as much as you think they're great hoppers and jumpers, they are nothing like cats. They don't have that kind of flexibility. And a rabbit jumping off of a sofa can really injure themselves. Rabbits are built for running, not for jumping. Jumping is a byproduct and something they do when they play. So this poor bunny had injured her spine jumping off of the sofa. And I could use a little bit deeper, like up to a 4 T-touch on her because she was such a big bunny. But really with most little bunnies, and I've had almost all Netherland dwarfs and mixes, I've never used greater than a 3 T-touch on them. And just keep that in mind when you're working with your bunnies. And another thing you can do is hold the rabbit against you and support their rib cage and hold them in this position, which I call a trash can sit, because they're upright, like he is, sitting up. And hold the bunny against you, supporting them and their back, and then their feet are out. And if they get nervous, they'll scratch at the air, not you. This is not a great position for your rabbit's back. To hold him in this position for too long wouldn't be a good idea, but it's a nice way to just stroke their whiskers and get familiar with them. And if you need to look at something specific, you can, restrain them a little bit this way. Now, really important when you put your rabbit down to put the back legs down first. If you don't do that and you put the front legs down, your rabbit will fall and he could really injure his front legs. Sorry, Hopple. And he could hurt his back as well. So when you're putting your rabbit down, put him down with the back legs first. This does not mean let the back legs be floating in space, because your rabbit will kick and be really afraid and may, again, injure their backs. I've had this happen with a lot of rabbits that I've seen. A child was putting them down and let their back legs go way up in the air, and the rabbit scrambled and got injured. So make sure you're supporting the bunny all the way down to the ground, and then let his back legs go gently, and then let his front legs go. And if you keep him close to the ground when you let him go, he will be safe. And that's a really important thing, and that's one reason why rabbits are terrible pets for really small children, because they need a lot of careful handling. We don't want to injure our bunnies when we're picking them up and putting them down. And I've seen children run up to a rabbit. The first thing they do is grab them here, which is not what rabbits like or feel safe with. And when they put them down, they just drop them. And again, that's a really good opportunity to injure your rabbit, which we don't want to do. So, Tristan, would you like to be a bunny for a minute? We'll just show you a little rabbit demonstration. Oh, since he is wearing, see his little tail? So if I were to come up to him as my bunny, I would say hi with some llama touch here in that 8th chakra area. And I would stroke his whiskers and say, "Oh, Tristan, bunny corgi, you have a beautiful dewlap. Look at that dewlap. Oh, so handsome you are." And then I would work along the bottom of my bunny, doing some llama T-touches or some lying in clouded leopards. And if I wanted to do a diaphragm release, I'd slide under the bunny first and just use a few fingers on the top of the bunny, which you can't see because Tristan's looking this way. Can you look out that way, honey? So, and there are many rabbits that are as big as Tristan. So those are some of the things you should keep in mind if you're handling a rabbit, and you might actually see some today on Easter. There are many bunnies in petting zoos now, and it's not unusual to see people with pet rabbits. I walked with my rabbits on leashes, and I know my friend Jody has a rabbit now in her kitchen who was really abusively handled and terrified of cages. So now that rabbit's living in her kitchen, and Jody has very quietly taken weeks and weeks of allowing that rabbit to become friends with her and come up to her and learn to accept some touch and some treats from her, and now they are good friends. So rabbits are really intelligent animals. I taught my rabbits to do many tricks, or actually they taught me how to do tricks with them. They're one of the first animals that I really connected with deeply. Even the wild rabbits in my neighborhood when I was a little girl were some of my close friends. And I'm so happy that here where I live, I have some very rare New England cottontails living in my yard. These are an endangered species of rabbit, and we have a lot of other regular cottontails up here. But the New England cottontails have a different shaped head and body, and I have a little herd of them in my yard. And I'm really happy when I see them. And usually the mother bunny will have some little babies in my garden in the middle of the summer under the lettuces. And I always think about Beatrice Potter bunny stories when that happens, and enjoy watching them when they leave the nest. So, and I hope they don't ever, and I have a lot of hawks and things around here too. The wildlife is quite abundant, but the bunnies are one of the benefits of the yard. So I hope all of you enjoy your time with a rabbit today or another time. and appreciate these beautiful species that we have, and that they make such cute toys, but they are in real life really wonderful beings that need a lot of respect and care. They have a lot of wisdom and a lot of things to share with us. And so I encourage you to spend some time with a rabbit sometime in your life and really appreciate the wonderful beings that they are. And if you take a craniosacral therapy class with me, you will get to meet some rabbits. So this is Sally Morgan and Tristan Corgi, who's losing his ears, for now our third episode of Conversations with a Corgi today. And we did not use our uncopyrighted material, so you get, again, me singing, "Little bunny foo-foo running through the forest, kicking up the field mice and bopping them on the head." Those poor field mice, they needed a craniosacral therapy session. So please come see me in Haddam, Connecticut next weekend at Ray of Light Farm on Sunday, when I'll be doing a demonstration and talking about horses. Check out the website and all the new things there, and the media page and the links to the YouTube where all of these videos are stored. And also think about coming to meet Linda Tellington and me and Tristan at the Tellington Tea Touch class for dogs and cats and rabbits and other animals in Rockville, Maryland in May. And I will be back on Tuesday, where we will have a further look at some harnesses. I went to the store to get a particular harness to show you its limitations, and ended up getting a couple of harnesses that are really limited in a lot of ways, and I can't wait to share with you some of the discoveries about those harnesses. I had 3 people in the store buying harnesses at the time, and I became really aware of how difficult it is for people to know which one to buy. And this person was a really good example of the typical dog owner. Her dog was pulling, it was a dachshund. She ended up buying a huge harness. Maybe it's not all dachshund. And she didn't know what to walk him with. And then when there was one harness there that I was looking at, thinking it might be interesting for you to see, and she picked it up, and she could not figure out what went where on the dog. We had a stuffed dog interest in there, and you know, she was a typical dog owner. You know, we can't be having harnesses that are so complicated that people can't put them on, because then they won't use them. So anyway, we will talk more about harnesses on Tuesday. It might be a long episode because I have a lot of harnesses to share with you, including the one I really like. And I will not be doing Facebook Live on Monday and Wednesday, because that's when I'll be at my job as an educator very early in the morning. But thanks for bearing with me on our third episode of Conversations with a Corgi on Sunday. Tristan's been wearing his bunny tail now for a few hours. It's sticking quite well. I'm glad he's enjoying it, because I went to a little trouble to make that for him. And so far, he seems to like it. So I will see you again on Tuesday to talk about harnesses. Thanks so much for joining us. And if this is your third time through, thank you for bearing with us. Bye-bye.